TikTok begins to come on in 3, 2, 1. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim with another banger, apparently. This is the Handsome Liberal as I switch my TikTok around. I almost went into ride sharing mode there, but Maine, the state of Maine, one of our northernmost states with the exclusion of Alaska, Maine has went anti-MAGA. Maine has removed President Trump from the ballot. I want to talk to you folks because similar to Colorado and potentially Oregon, the state of Oregon is also on deck. They're in the batting cage. Oregon could follow Maine fairly soon. So what I want to ask you folks is, in regards to President Trump and the suggestion that he qualifies as someone who violated the 14th Amendment, I want to ask you folks, should that amendment be there? Because many folks are suggesting that even if he did potentially do something, whereas some folks believe he did, some didn't, folks are suggesting, well, you should leave it up to the voters. Well, it's going to go up to the voters no matter what. There's going to be an election in Trump. There are going to be people who vote for Trump, no matter if you suggest he violated the 14th Amendment or not. So if the suggestion is leave it up to the voters, then that means we don't need to have a 14th Amendment at all. So I want to ask you folks, should that amendment that was put in place in response to the Civil War, folks trying to secede from the United States and suggesting they should never be able to hold office in this country after trying to break the country up, should that amendment still be viable today? Because if you do believe someone tried to engage in an insurrection and the response is, well, don't take the person off the ballot, leave it up to the voters to decide, then you don't need to have the 14th Amendment. The voters are going to decide no matter what, whether you try to suggest Trump was involved in an insurrection or whether you think it was all a witch hunt and he did nothing wrong. The voters are going to decide anyway. That's already going to happen. So should we remove the 14th Amendment? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Obviously, Maine. Did Maine get it right? Or is Maine, similar to Colorado, some might say, are they on some bullshit? Where is the Supreme Court going to go with this? Most political analysts believe that Colorado and now Maine will be struck down by a Supreme Court that has a supermajority. However, in regards to pushing back, just for shits and giggles, folks felt the same way when Trump's election claims went to court. Folks felt a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court, they're going to back Trump up in his election claims. That did not happen. They didn't even rule against Trump because they told Trump, we're not even going to entertain what you're suggesting. So it's not like the Supreme Court has shown undying loyalty to the former commander-in-chief, talking about Trump. They have ruled against him before. And as a result, Trump, in typical Trump fashion, stated a lot of negative things about the Supreme Court, up to and including calling them cowards. Now, I want to bring that up before we go to the box, before we go to the program, for the simple fact is a lot of folks take things personal when you lob names at them. A lot of my beloved Trump supporters will tell you, don't be a snowflake. Ignore the names. Pay attention to what Trump does. Trump doesn't do that. If you call Trump names, he don't ignore you. So the reason I'm bringing it up is because of how Trump criticized the Supreme Court, it's possible that some members, even ones elected by Republican presidents, may not favor the guy. Sometimes when you criticize people in high positions that they had to work their asses to get to, just like Trump, they take it serious. They take it personal. Trump has criticized everyone from generals, past presidents, Supreme Court justice. I mean, he said a lot of negative things about people. That could affect their ruling in the future. They literally have Trump, as some might say, by the short and curlies. If the Supreme Court rules that Trump should be taken off the ballot, it's going to be very similar to rolling back Roe v. Wade. All of a sudden, all of these states are going to pop up and show you how they really feel. The moment Roe v. Wade was overturned, all of these states started popping up and passing laws. That would happen if the Supreme Court either rules against Trump or just chooses not to hear his case. That could happen. It's not likely if you listen to most political analysts, but there is no such thing as a 0% chance. There is a chance the Supreme Court could rule against Trump. And for all intents and purposes, that would probably be the end of Trump's candidacy if they either rule against him, suggesting that these states can remove him from the ballot, or if they decide not to hear his case, his campaign, for all intents and purposes, is over with. Now, there's a big difference between ruling against him and stating that the Colorado, the state of Maine, and whoever else, if they rule in favor of those states, that means they're admitting Trump committed an act of insurrection. That's different than not listening to his case. If they don't listen to his case, then they're leaving it up to the lower courts. But I'm just bringing it up because if the Supreme Court decides to side with Colorado or Maine, which is an unlikely chance that's going to happen, but if they do, now he's likely to lose to the likes of Jack Smith and the rest of those folks, because now you got a Supreme Court precedent that even stated we agree that he was involved in an insurrection. But many folks don't believe that's going to happen. I just wanted to put that out to you. Do you think Maine got it right? Or you think Maine is on some bullshit? As always, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 5,000 to start us off. We got 500 plus of you in here. You know how the program works. We don't block, ban, or censor any of the commentators. If you come in the box, you don't have to agree with the host. You know how that works. We're all about free speech here. We're not here to try to tell you how you should think. We're here to hear what you have to say. Looking in the comments, Maine is right, says BJ. Well, let's see how it goes. Yeah! Pinche Vato Loco. Appreciate the hat and mustache that started out. Is public education whitewashing history, i.e. Nikki Haley's Civil War? Yes, public education has been whitewashing history since history began. America has been trying to hide its dark past for most of America's history. And I would submit to you the shock and awe when the television adaptation of the novel by Alex Haley, Roots, was placed on television back in the 1970s. People were so shocked because they weren't teaching about slavery in schools from the 1970s on back. They didn't talk about it. It's kind of like Morgan Freeman. How do you get over racism? Don't talk about it. Folks never had any picture of how awful that period in time was. So when Alex Haley's novel was turned into a movie and they saw how awful people was being treated, it actually was a pretty shocking and awful television series from that standpoint. People didn't talk about it. So they were whitewashing history is the answer to your question. Looking in the comments, make Maine the capital. Really? You favor what Maine did so much in regards to removing Trump from the ballot? You want Maine to be our nation's capital. Oh my God, that's funny. All right, we're gonna go straight to the box. Make Maine the capital. Crazy libertarian. You'd be someone interesting to talk to. I want to figure out, or ask you yourself, crazy libertarian, did Maine get it right? Good afternoon, crazy. Welcome to the program if the box gets it right. Good afternoon, crazy.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing really good. Happy New Year's to you and yours. Did Maine get it right in your opinion?
No, I think they're making Trump more powerful than ever by playing this game.
What do you mean by making him more powerful?
Because they're making him a martyr. I
Wow.
mean, that's what they're doing.
You're not the only one saying
obviously-
that.
No, but I think the polls have showed that. If you check this past year, with all the indictments they've had in Georgia, New York, D.C., I can't remember the other one, but then they pulled this shit in Colorado and Maine. His poll numbers are off the roof.
His poll number. Hey, listen, you're not the only one saying that. There are a lot of folks saying the more you charge him, the stronger he gets. But let me ask it to you this way: do you feel that Trump is innocent of everything they're charging him for?
Innocent. The insurrection, yes.
Okay.
I think he's innocent of that.
What about the documents?
The documents, no, but every president has taken documents.
Okay, so you let other presidents get away with it. You should let Trump get away with it.
That's why are they not going after Obama, where they had a million? He had 1 million documents supposedly, and the archives was begging him, said, "Listen, we need this for the archives," and Obama got away with 100 times more documents being taken from the White House than what Trump was. The Clintons, the Bushes, I mean, they all did the same thing. The Clintons actually robbed the White House, and they had to take merchandise back to the White House because they stole it.
What about the obstruction of justice, where they're saying even Trump's attorney is stating that she told him, if you don't give these documents back, that's a crime, and he continued to keep them? You think that he should face any justice for that?
Justice is as long as everybody seeks. If it's equal justice across the board, with the Nancy Pelosi's, the McConnell.
But wait, crazy libertarian, let a name crazy. I will just tell you this. Justice in this country and probably any other country in the globe has never been equal. If you get a speeding ticket and you go to court and, well, I'm fine with you giving me a ticket if you give everybody on the highway that was speeding a ticket. Justice is never equal like that, right?
For the most part, yes. I mean, I've been in trouble, years ago when I was a dumbass teenager 30 plus years ago. I had friends of mine who got convicted of the same exact crime.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my charges were less. You know why? Because I was smart enough to hire the right lawyer, and I wasn't a dumbass and sit there and complied with the cops. Because the police, as we all know, they can lie to us, but we lie
Right.
to them. Our asses.
But you're admitting you fared better because you complied with the cops, whereas they're.
I didn't comply. I shut the hell up and let my lawyer do the talking, and said I'm not pleading guilty to anything. Let them prove it, and that's the way the justice system works under the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah, but do you see them having any difficulty proving that they asked Trump for the documents and he refused to give them back? Do you think that'll be difficult to prove?
No, and if he gets convicted, I could give two shits about Trump or anybody else in D.C., to be honest with you.
Okay.
I believe in community.
So in other words, in regards to the documents case, you do believe it's a possibility he could be convicted of obstruction. You don't think he's totally innocent of that?
It's with the history of it. It's I don't think that's a fair crime. I think it's all.
What do you mean by obstruction is not obstruction is just, we asked you to give us something back. You refused to do it.
He has presidential immunity. That's the reason why.
Presidential immunity to keep documents once you've left office?
He does. If he declassifies them as president of the United States, he has that authority under the Constitution, from the way I understand it. I'm not a constitutional lawyer by no means.
Do you think he is correct when he told Sean Hannity, I can declassify a document by thinking about it? To me,
that's splitting hairs. Because
Explain.
Because because law gets interpreted in so many damn different ways, and we have so many laws on the books right now with regulation and everything else. We still have laws from 150 years ago that make absolutely no sense today, that are still on the books in different states and in our federal government.
Wait, but let me make sure I'm getting clarity. I mean, he said he can declassify a document simply by thinking about it. You're saying that it's a possibility that's true?
With having presidential immunity, it could be. I don't know. I'm not a constitutional lawyer. All I'm saying is, if you're going to make it a felony or a crime for Trump, then make it a crime and felony for Hillary Clinton, who was not president of the United States as she took documents. Make it a crime for Joe Biden, who was not president of the United States, who took documents.
Yeah, but I gotta push back with the same statement I gave you earlier, because I get your suggestion that you can't just only charge Trump. It almost sounds like a Marsha defense. Your defense is either you did it or you didn't. Pointing to other guilty parties and saying they did it too, does that work for anybody in court?
Okay, you got me as a Trump supporter. Now I think that's.
I didn't call you a Trump supporter.
No, sir. I know you did, but I'm saying you got me where I'm defending Trump, and I think that's where we're getting off base. Here's how I feel. Let's start over. Is just like I said earlier. If you're going to convict anybody, convict everybody, because there's nothing I would love more than to see every single person, with exception of maybe two, out of the entire 535 people in Congress, between the 100 people in the Senate and the 435 people in Congress, if my numbers are wrong,
I mean, I that's what I'm interrupting.
Every single one of them.
But crazy. That's not realistic. Let me just give it to you this way.
I don't, because they're breaking law.
Yeah, but that ain't what that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is this: it doesn't matter what you crazy could be charged with, whether speeding or triple homicide. No matter what you do, there's someone else out there in this country that has done the same thing and did not get charged. You can't go to trial using the fact that somebody else got away with this shit too as a defense. They're there to determine whether you are guilty or not to hear you basically you want to snitch on everybody else. I'm not going down unless they all going down. That doesn't work in court.
No, it doesn't. No, and I've never snitched on anybody, never would.
But that's what you're doing now. That's what you're suggesting Trump does.
But there's the obvious crimes. That's not what I'm doing now. When you see obvious insider trading, where they are literally killing any hope of unity between the American people, because playing this partisan bullshit, excuse my language, but that's what it is, and I can't stand it. I don't like it. I don't give a shit about Republican or Democrat. I think.
I'm hearing you, and I'm not disagreeing with the level of corruption in Washington. What I'm pointing out, though, is if you're there to decide whether Trump is innocent or guilty, bringing up what Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi did, that, by the way, that is snitching. Well, she did it too, but that's not going to save you. And keep in mind, a lot of the crimes you're pointing out that maybe Nancy or Hillary Clinton did, the judge can look at Trump and say, well, what did you do about it while you were president? This crime was committed before.
It's not snitching. You just all I want is Lady Justice to be blonde, and that's what she's supposed to be. Let's flip it and let's forget about Trump for a minute. Let's say there's a black guy and a white guy, and the black guy gets more time than the white guy. And he says, well, wait a minute, this white guy did the same exact crime. He only got probation. This black guy has to do a year, and he gets out in 9 months. Now you're going to say, is that snitching? No, you're going to say that is racial bias.
No, but let me give you
absolutely 100% right.
well, the reason why what you stated is not snitching because you're talking about a difference in how much time they receive. So you're not telling on somebody in regards to something they don't know that they haven't been charged for. You go to court, start talking about, well, Hillary Clinton did this and Nancy Pelosi did that. Then yeah, you're snitching on people that have never been held accountable.
What about the officers? Okay, let's say nobody goes to court. The officer locks up the black guy, but lets the white person go on a warning. Now, are you not going to question that officer? It says, why did you differentiate between the two crimes, even though they were exactly the same thing?
I mean, I get your point, but that's hang on. Let me just right, but just to get back on, but just wait a minute, hold on, crazy. Just to get back on topic, this is Trump's case. Bringing all of these, because a lot of folks on the right, my beloved MAGA will tell you, you guys are all about deflection. We're now talking about Hillary Clinton, cops, and Nancy Pelosi. None of them are on trial. None of them are going to court. This is about Trump. Either.
That doesn't worry you, but that doesn't worry you that Hillary Clinton has never faced any scrutiny whatsoever from the Department of Justice for things that we all know she did.
It can worry the hell out of me, but it's not going to apply while we're in court with Trump. If Hillary Clinton did something, wait, hold on. Why didn't Trump charge her if she's so guilty?
That's the $1 million question.
Does that not worry you that this guy who let a guilty person like Hillary Clinton in your eyes get away the whole 4 years he was in office, did nothing about it, and now he wants the job again? Does that worry you that we're putting somebody in office that clearly dropped the ball on all these criminals you're talking about?
That is a great question, and I'm glad you asked that. Yes, the reason why it worries me, because it's not about Trump. It's not about Biden or whoever's president. Let me finish. I promise I'll get there. Is because the system is so broken. Republicans are protecting Democrats. Democrats are protecting Republicans. Just because they're all in the same oligarchy. They're all part of the same corrupt system. And that's why I do not believe in D.C. That's why I'm libertarian. Is if you go back, if JFK, John F. Kennedy Sr., if he was alive today, he would be a libertarian. And he was taken out by the FBI, which is now in the CIA, and it's now, they've proven that.
Okay, I'm gonna have to move it on, but I'll let you wrap it up real quick. I gotta move it on, but as an African American, where JFK worked with Lyndon B. Johnson and Martin Luther King to give me civil rights, I'm glad he wasn't a libertarian because you folks believe that folks should just be left alone. Thank God he stepped in and told a lot of these states.
Lyndon B. Johnson was behind it. He's the one who had JFK killed.
He signed the Civil Rights Act. I don't care about anything else. Without his signature, I don't care why. If my lights get turned off, I don't care why you paid the bill. I'm just glad you done it.
That's fine. I mean, so
there is no soul. I am free civilly because of this guy. I don't care why he did it. I really don't. I'll give you the last word. Go ahead and wrap it up. I'm about to move it on, but go ahead and wrap it up.
So if the Grand Wizard of the KKK signed something just so he could do something, you go say, I don't care that he wore a Grand Wizard mask just because he signed legislation, and even though he was pressured into it, it's okay by me that he's a Grand Wizard for the KKK. That's the kind of mentality in Washington D.C. that disgusts me. That's why I tell everybody this: when it comes to my family, I'm a communist.
All right.
House, all right.
Okay.
When it comes to my community, I'm a socialist. When it comes to state, I am moderate. When it comes to D.C., I'm a libertarian because they do not know what we need in different communities. New York
All right,
City,
I gotta wrap it up, man. I gotta go. I appreciate it. I will respond to your question on the other side. The simple answer is this: if a Grand Wizard signed the Civil Rights Act and allowed me to be free, I don't care why he did it. I really do not care. If I'm being shot at and Hamas decides to shoot at the guy who's trying to kill me, I am going to be glad that Hamas saved my life. I don't care when my life is on the line who stepped in and saved me. A perfect example would be the Tuskegee Airmen. America was treating African Americans like shit during World War II. You think any of them had a problem with the Tuskegee Airmen guaranteeing bombers got home? There is no enemies when you're on my side in the foxhole. That's the only way I can sum it up. Looking at the comment section, big lie causes death. I don't quite get that. You think Trump going to treat you any better? Depends on your definition of better and how the treatment may be implemented. There are certain areas of American life where folks feel Trump was better. Folks do feel Trump was better economically. In regards to treating minorities specifically, no, I don't think that Trump is going to become president and specifically target minorities and start treating minorities better. No, I do not believe that. Looking in the comments, vote blue and save America. Is America in danger? Wow. Before I go back to the box, question we're asking certainly is, now that Maine has joined Colorado and went never Trump, did Maine get it right? Simply put, did Maine get it right, or are they on some bullshit like folks feel about Colorado? I'll go straight back to the box. Appreciate you folks holding on. Dark Arthur. Sound of a name. All right, Dark Arthur. Perhaps Dark Brandon. Arthur, good afternoon. Happy New Year's.
Everybody in the comments is out complaining about Colorado and about Maine. These Republicans and conservatives been talking about states' rights, states' rights. So now, when the court says they can't go on the ballot, they're complaining about it.
That's an interesting perspective. You've been wanting the states to have the right to do whatever they want. Now that they're doing it, you got a problem with it.
Exactly.
Kind of reminds me of the hip hop song. I think it goes something like, it's cool when you do it. There's a problem when I do it. And I think it ends up saying fuck them or something like that. So that's what it sounds like. Yeah. So
and then another thing.
Go ahead.
With the classified documents, right? It has to go back to the people who classified it, has to declassify it. He just can't say out of his head, well, I'm going to disclassify it because I'm the president. Yeah. That's not how that works.
Yeah. I'll interrupt you. I'll interrupt by simply saying I was surprised that the last guest was saying he's a libertarian and not pro-Trump and defending something like that. The idea that you could classify a document by thinking about it means that it is impossible for you to ever steal a document. Because if you get caught stolen with something, you can just say, I thought about it, it's declassified. Without any record that you ever declassified the document because allegedly it's all in your mind, then yeah, you could never commit an act of espionage when it comes to stolen documents. You could have a document at your house, be making copies, selling it and everything. The minute the government finds out and tries to hold you accountable, well, I thought it into declassification. So you're essentially immune from theft of these documents. That didn't make any sense to me.
That's asinine. Sorry about that, but that's totally asinine. And I was like, this guy, he's gonna vote Trump. If election was held tomorrow, he's gonna vote Trump. I can tell by the way he was talking.
Well, yeah, obviously, most but that's not in defense of him. Most libertarians do lean right in the election.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said before, when Trump took those documents, he knew what he was doing. He did not care. He had no skiff at Mar-a-Lago when it happened. He had a printer at Mar-a-Lago. He had documents in his bathroom, in his garage. He had documents everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, those were all copies, correct? If they were, where are all the originals at?
I don't know if all of those documents were copied. Because there's so much classification around it. We don't know what he had, and we don't know everything he had in any of that. We just know the
pictures.
Huh?
Remember the pictures when the FBI was showing those pictures of the documents?
Yeah, big boxes of documents. Yeah, you had hundreds of pages.
Right. No, the pictures of them, remember? On the floor and all that?
Yeah.
Those, they don't have borders. So when he copied them, those red borders showed. Remember?
Okay.
At the end?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know how that works. All I know is this.
Those documents were copied.
Yeah, I will just say this. I don't really know how it works. I will just say this: if his own attorney is testifying that I told the president that if you don't get these back, it's a crime, and he pretty much told her to go to hell. That's what's hurting Trump. For folks who believe he's innocent or guilty or not,
Yep.
the fact that so many people that was in his inner circle are willing to testify, that gets people locked up all over the damn place. If you work for the mob and your top lieutenants are testifying that you were doing all this stuff, he wouldn't be the first person to go down for that.
Is that Mark Mueller's got full immunity, so wonder what he's doing to Jack Smith right now.
Well, my last guest believe he's pretty much innocent of all this stuff.
Yeah, tell your last guess. Whatever.
All right, I'm moving on, but I appreciate you coming on. So at the end of the day, you think Maine got it right?
You give a nice one.
Absolute. And looking in the comments, and I wonder how many of you folks think Maine got it right versus folks who believe that they got it wrong, or what I asked in the beginning of the program: should we just remove the 14th Amendment from the Constitution entirely? Because a lot of folks, like the Chris Christies, for instance, are saying that even if you believe he violated the 14th Amendment, it should be left up to the voters to decide. Well, fact is, it's going to be left up to the voters to decide whether he violated it or not. So what is the purpose of the amendment? If you're not going to take any action on the guy, whether you think he violated or not, and you're going to leave it up to the voters, something that was going to happen anyway, then why have the 14th Amendment at all? It's essentially saying we're not going to enforce it. You don't need to have it. The citizens have already made their decision whether he's innocent or not. So just get rid of the amendment. I'm assuming now, looking in the comments, I'm going to agree with P.T. Banham, who says we have the 14th Amendment for a reason. I agree. But if at the end of the day you just leave it up to the voters, then yeah, you're not really enforcing it. These states are sending a message to those who don't respect the peaceful transfer of power. A lot of folks agree with that. Then a president can kill, says, well, I hope not. Well, listen, George W. Bush likely would have been a good candidate for war crimes. What happened with Iraq is not really defensible. I mean, you claim they had weapons of mass destruction. You're virtually responsible for the assassination of a foreign head of state. Now, we did it in a way that Saddam's own people took him out. But you give them all the assistance necessary. It's kind of like playing the old, for you folks who are old enough to remember the Rock'em Sock'em robots. I'm not hitting your robot. My robot is doing it. Yeah, but you're controlling the whole damn thing. Saddam Hussein would not have been captured by his own people without American interference, without American assistance. So essentially, we are responsible for taking out a foreign head of state. That normally would be a war crime. But we are in control, we're in power, so George W. Bush rides off without any issue happening with that. But that normally would be a war crime. Looking in the comments, that game is still around. Are you serious, fat boy? I got a Rock'em Sock'em robot game probably in the mid-70s. Wow, that's still around. Nothing will happen. Wake up, lefts. The media is playing you, and you're falling for it. Look, I saw folks go apeshit on January 6th because you're suggesting the media is playing us and we're falling for it. Regardless of what you think happened with the 2020 election, there was nowhere near enough evidence on January 6th, 2 months and 2 days after the election, to act that way. You can't tell me the media is playing folks like yours truly when you ignore an event like that. The way they behaved, even if you now feel like it's justified, on that day, there was not enough evidence to act like that. 2 months and 2 days after the election, there was nowhere near enough evidence presented at that point to behave in that manner. And half of the shit that they felt were confident that took place on January 6, 2021 has been disproven completely. That crowd on January 6th would have definitely believed the Dominion voting machines helped Joe Biden out. That's been disproven in a court of law. Most folks on the right have come out and openly admitted that that's not true. So you talk about the media playing people. Those folks on January 6th was absolutely played by the media. They went way above and beyond based on the information they had at that time. It just was not. Dinesh D'Souza, 2,000 Mules hadn't even came out. They had simply what they were being told by the media. That's all they had. And they went and did all of that stuff. Being played by the media. Looking in the comments, or better yet, the box, we'll keep it moving. Andy, appreciate you folks that are holding on. Good afternoon, Andy. Oh, we got Maine going anti-Trump. Did Maine screw up or did they get it right?
No, they got it right.
Really? I'm not hearing many folks say, what about Chris Christie, though, who states we should leave it up to the voters to decide. Don't move his name, remove his name, or like my first caller stated, removing Trump turns him into a martyr.
Oh, please. First of all, between the fake electorates, the fact that it's Republican on Republican, it's not even Democrats that are testified against him. This isn't even our party.
Yeah. It is mostly Republicans coming out and testifying against Trump, but folks are starting to believe that if you testify against Trump, you're bought and paid for, you're a rhino, or you might be a liberal in hiding. Folks believe Mike Pence. Folks believe Mike Pence is a liberal.
They even think the people he brought in with him are rhinos.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah. So then why, if he's so guilty, why is his poll numbers, as my first caller pointed out, continuing to increase? He's doing well in the polls. How do you explain that?
Trump said he loved the uneducated.
So you believe his voters are uneducated?
I think a lot of them didn't vote prior to voting for Trump, and they don't know a lot about policy. Because really, name one piece of legislation Trump put through that helped everybody in the country.
Well, if he tries to get the border under control, many folks believe that whether it's the job market, folks believe that they're committing a lot of crimes. I'm not saying that this stuff is true, but folks do believe this stuff is helping everybody out. If you get all of these folks in Chicago, in New York, some of these liberal cities are now really upset about the amount of immigrants. So if Trump gets the border under control, that's a policy many folks believe will help most Americans.
Actually, I saw something about that today, and I did not see what you're telling me. What I saw was they were upset because they didn't get the money that should have gone to, that Texas got, and then delivered them to them, which they didn't have money to provide for them.
Yeah, but you're talking about, I know what you're talking about that. You're talking about the mayor of New York. And you're right that FEMA or the government gives Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, where these people are coming in California, they give them federal funds to help them with all of the folks they're taking in. But now that Texas and Florida is sending these people all over the country, some of them folks are like, well, you need to give us some of the money you've been getting to help, to deal with immigrants. Now that we getting them all, the federal government should give some of that money to us. That's a legitimate claim from the mayor of New York. But I'm talking about the citizens. The citizens of these cities, these liberal cities, are what's going off, not the mayor.
In my eyes, okay, we have had Reagan, who gave the 2.8 million amnesty.
Yeah.
And then every other president since then has been trying to do something about the border. Not one of them has not tried to do something about the border. Bush hired the 5,000 agents who ended up corrupt because they weren't vetted well enough, and the cartel bought them off. Bill Clinton, right after Reagan, just threw whatever in place, and that's why everything's so messed up today. And then Obama has been building walls since 2009 under the 2009 Fence Act. And this is why I don't think Trump supporters are paying attention. The border has had the budget for the border wall has always been there since 2009.
Yeah, but Trump did a lot more than just a wall, and he also...
Yeah, but what did he run on? Build the wall. They didn't even know the wall was being built. That's my whole point.
Well,
They can tell you everything that Biden has done, but they can't tell you one thing Trump's done.
Yeah, they can, Andy. Yeah, they can. I'm giving them to you. Yeah, they can tell you. In fact, by the way, something that us liberals often
Legislation.
Okay, well, I'm giving them to you. Something that us liberals praise: Operation Warp Speed. That is Trump. That's something that Trump did.
Legislation, though.
Giving money to have this vaccine.
I mean, he got Congress to a lot of money, but he's not like the legislation he wrote for the taxes, that he had done for the taxes, where the rich got that 1%, 1% got that cut, and the rest of us are going to have to pay more taxes this year. And by the way, when everybody has to pay taxes, and it's increased.
Yeah, but Andy, he did things. You just don't favor what he did, or you don't like the outcome. But when you say,
I mean, that's the only two things you can say though that are actual legislation.
You told me he had none, and now you're up to 2. You said none at first. Now if we keep going, I'm gonna make your numbers go up. He has done things. You just don't like them.
Well, I mean, there's the tax cut, and there's he's been building wall under somebody else's budget. Okay. But that's not his legislation.
Andy, I'm not. You and I normally agree, but in this case, though, you're just not giving the man credit. What about him pardoning some folks and helping folks get out of prison? You favor that?
Yeah, but that's not legislation either. I said legislation. That's where I'm not saying he didn't do anything good. Okay. I'm just saying, what legislation did he write? Do you favor the stimulus checks he sent to everybody? Yes and no. Okay, you drive a hard bargain today. Okay, it's just like with Obama and Bush. Bush didn't get any of the money back from the banks, but Obama gave money to the car industry, and he got all of it back, but $50,000.
Okay.
From GM, I think. And so, it's not that I have a problem with him giving the stimulus checks out. It's how they went out, and they didn't have a plan to make sure the money came back. So that Marjorie Taylor Greene got $183,000 forgiven for a PPP loan. Matt Gaetz got almost $500,000. Those are the instances where I have an issue with it.
Okay. So what about the claim or the suggestion that under Trump we weren't dealing with all these global conflicts like we are under Biden?
Do you know how many soldiers Trump lost in his first year?
Where?
In Syria and Afghanistan.
I don't recall us losing anybody in Syria. How many people we losing?
He kept that a secret. I'm a member of the auxiliary. I see the numbers.
Syria?
Yeah, we lost 66 service members in the first year under Trump.
I have never heard of that. I mean, I didn't know we were even going into Syria. I've never heard of that.
We abandoned our allies, the Kurds, to the Turks. Of course we did.
Okay, well, that sounds like something that happened under the George Bush administration.
No, that happened under Trump.
Okay, all right. So we lost 60 service personnel in Syria, but
first year, 66.
All right. Okay, fair enough. So you do see do you see the global conflicts under Trump being equal or worse than under Biden?
Not a lot we can do about what Russia does to the Ukraine and our agreements that we made in 1993. If the American government doesn't keep its agreements, whether we like, what's going on or not, we have to make our commitments or we're not worth our salt. Okay. You're only as good as your word.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
And, that's one of the biggest issues other countries had with us is when Trump pulled out of the Paris Accord and all of that, because other presidents don't disassemble treaties and stuff that other presidents prior to them put into place.
I don't disagree with that. I do believe Trump getting in power and getting us out of deals that we had signed on a dotted line for really puts America's credibility on display. But America is known for breaking treaties and not being trustworthy. I always say on the program, God bless any nation that is willing to trust America. I mean, everything from the term Indian giver, we've been breaking treaties and deals we make with people from day one. I mean, that's the whole issue behind Saddam Hussein is killing his own people, is because George H.W. told them, if you rise up against Saddam, we'll help you. They did it, and we love them, and he started slaughtering them all. So, I don't understand why nations still trust us, huh?
We put him into power too, just like the rest of the dictators we take out.
And the same issue is with, and the same thing is going on with Ukraine. Is that Vladimir Putin is seeing them as following the United States, promising they wouldn't become a member of NATO, and now they're trying to do it. So, I don't see how people trust America.
We did not say, but the Democrats did not agree to let Ukraine become a member of NATO. Matter of fact, we stood in their way. And we made that agreement with the Budapest Memorandum with the Russians. The Russians agreed to it. So the Russians are the actual ones breaking the treaty and the deal. I mean, like I said, I can name something good and bad every president has done.
All right, and that's all I was asking, because you started out by making it sound like Trump has done nothing good at all, and I'm like, listen, you may not favor the guy, but I think every president has something good you can say about him. That's all I wanted to bring up. But I do got to move it on, Andy. You know how we do. Appreciate you coming in.
Can
here.
I ask you one question
real
before
quick?
We go?
Go ahead.
I saw Nikki Haley trying to clean up her little fiasco about the Civil War, and I wanted to know what you thought of that since you asked me yesterday. I was kind of curious.
All right, I'll respond to that on the other side. I appreciate you coming in.
See ya.
Absolute. All right, and right off the bat, the answer is simple. The Civil War was over slavery. States' rights to continue enjoying the privilege of having free labor. And I brought this up on yesterday's show, as she is alluding to, that since slavery and the complete loss of all this free labor in the southern states, many of those states have not recovered. In fact, most of our poorest states in the union are down there in those former slave states. Mississippi, Alabama, particularly Louisiana, Kentucky is one of the poor states in the union. Losing a ton of free labor is certainly a reason to go to war. Certainly when you think about the owners of slaves in this country were some of the wealthiest Americans there. Only 1% of whites owned slaves. These were very wealthy people. Cost a lot of money to own slaves. So the idea that the North is trying to take away, Tammy, appreciate that subscription. Tammy, thank you. The idea that the North is trying to take away all this free labor that is super enriching these folks down south, that's a reason to go to war. You fucking with people's money. So yeah, the Civil War was over slavery. There's no denying the Civil War was over slavery. And what Nikki Haley was doing was trying to appease those who would rather rewrite history and say it was over something else. That's the simple solution there. Looking into the comments, in Alabama, messed itself up, straight up mismanagement. Okay, fair enough. It's hard to replace a ton of free labor, though. A lot of these states, agriculture, and everybody's doing it for free. It's really hard to replace that. The only close replacement is to get a bunch of immigrants to do it for $2 or $3 an hour. And a lot of these areas have done just that. But completely free labor, you can't beat that. You can't beat it. That's certainly something to go to war for. I appreciate that, Crane. Sonny Boy, thank you. Going back to the box, though, did Maine completely get this wrong? Did they get it right? Or should we forget about the 14th Amendment altogether? Tap the screen. I haven't been soliciting that. We got 760 plus of you in here. You know the program is always will remain MAGA friendly. We've always been MAGA friendly here. MAGA are always my preferred guest. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. You guys can be anywhere you want to be. I'm always happy to have you here. We'll go straight back to the box. We'll go straight to Brain Scratch. It's a hell of a name. Good afternoon, Brain Scratch. If it let on, I don't know, something's going on with the box. We'll give it a second. This crowd is so gullible, says Browns backer. How is the crowd gullible? Americans with their own opinions. Like I state always, we're about free speech here. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. Just because you have a difference of opinion from yours truly, yeah, Gen Xer, thank you for the hat and mustache, does not mean you're gullible. One thing I never do, at least, coming from your show, I never talk down to my guests. You folks can have a difference of opinion. I want to hear it. I may challenge you, but I won't silence you. I ain't neither political party. I'm a womanist. What is a womanist? Big Nasty. Your screen name, a male named Big Nasty, stating you're a womanist. I don't know if I'm right or wrong here, but the first word comes to mind is, did he mean womanizer? Let me know. Excuse my right. I don't quite get that, but we'll keep going. Something's going on with the box. People are popping up, then they're disappearing. Dark truth. There's a dark truth and a dark FJB in the box. Wow. All right, dark truth. Good afternoon.
What's up? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. What do you think about Maine deciding to go never Trump?
I say all of them need to take him off the ballot. I mean, he committed treason. I mean, I don't care how people look at it. He incited that mob to go down to the Capitol. He is 100% responsible. Now, the only reason he did that, I mean, you might hear a little noise in the background.
Yeah, you got a lot of noise in the back. But let me, so what you're saying is all 50 states should remove Trump because you believe he committed an act of treason.
I do. I mean, he incited that mob. He pushed that mob and he said, go down there peacefully protest. There's even phone calls of him, even on the phone trying to call trying to end the certification of the elections in Michigan.
Mm.
I mean, these are not something they're not that people need to understand. He's gonna go down.
But dark truth, you do understand even liberal states like Michigan are having trouble removing his name from the ballot. So even Democrats are saying you should not remove his name from the ballot.
You know what? See, that to me, that I call it a political witch hunt. The same thing Trump does. This is a political witch hunt. This man needs to be removed off the ballot. To be honest with you, Trump needs to think about endorsing the election at this point, because all this stuff, all this smoke that he has right now, is going to come back and hit him and bite him. But people don't understand these RICO charges. RICO charges, let's dive into that, right? These RICO charges is what they use to go after mob. Like, this is not something that they're playing. But, he can't keep his mouth shut. He refuses to even the gag orders that they put on him. He's not even paying attention to that. He's not taking it seriously. And the only way that the MAGA and these, anyone should understand is that when he's in handcuffs and in a prison cell, that's the only reason they're going to realize it. They're going to wake up. And because Trump is not going to...
Okay.
I'll say this. Go ahead.
No, I was going to, I'm going to have to wrap it up because you got so much noise in the background. It's really kind of difficult to hear you, but I do hear you suggesting that all 50 states should remove Trump because you do believe he violated the law. And but go ahead. I'll give you the last word.
You know what? I'll say this in closing. He should be off the ballot, right? Because, anyone who does what he did, he has no right to be in public office. He has no right. And you can disagree to, agree, but I just don't see a path for him. I mean, even, like I said, I'll land my plane after this and I actually got to run. But, with everything said and done, he's going to be charged with something. Because he has 94 indictments, and I think people forget that. Now, out of 94 indictments, he's going to be convicted for one of them.
Yeah.
And I need people to understand that.
A lot of folks believe it, but I want to say something in defense of Trump, but I'll say it on the other side. I do appreciate you coming in. Happy New Year's to you and yours. You're welcome back anytime. All right.
Okay, but before I go, give me a follow, man. I think that'll be, you're a good man. I like your content. So if you drop me a follow, I appreciate that.
All right, I got you covered. Appreciate you coming on. And I will say this in defense of Trump. Will he beat 90 plus federal charges? No, I don't believe he will, quote unquote, beat the charges. Will he be convicted of any of those charges? is the question. The reason why I separate beating the charges versus a conviction, because normally for you or I, if we were charged with a crime, you either going to beat it or you're going to be convicted. Those are the only two options. You're either going to beat the charge or you're going to be convicted of the charge. There's a third option for Trump. Simply put, if he is reelected president, most of those charges, if not all of them, will be dropped. Because once Trump becomes president, he can toss out Merrick Garland, and whoever he puts in would toss out Jack Smith, and they would likely be Trump friendly. And you would hear a statement that would be read to the public that the federal government got this one wrong. The president should never have been charged, and we hereby drop all the charges. That would be the third outcome for President Trump. That doesn't exist for you or I. Talk about the two-tier justice system and all of that shit. But Trump is in a position that if he is reelected, the charges will most likely be dropped. I don't think Trump will ever be in a situation where he's going to hear all of these not guilty verdicts. That's not going to happen. He's not going to beat the charges. But he can be in a position where he's never convicted of them if he can get in there, put in Trump-friendly folks, and they throw him out. So he didn't get convicted, but he also didn't beat him. That could actually happen. Looking in the comments, Human, okay, love the name Human. Why does the left hate Trump so bad? Because it fits an agenda. In regards to the left hating Trump, it fits the agenda of Trump and the right to say that all my enemies are liberals. In reality, they're not. Mike Pence is not a freaking liberal. Attorney General Barr is not a liberal. Scaramucci, Omarosa, Ambassador Bolton, these are not liberals. People are taking plea deals. They're not liberals. But you don't want to say that I'm dividing the Republican Party, and there's a whole bunch of Republicans that hate me. So anyone that does not like Trump, if you're Trump or my beloved MAGA, the first thing you do is you remove the Republican label from them. There is not a single Republican in the eyes of MAGA that doesn't like Trump. They're all rhinos or liberals because the label gets taken away. So then it fits the narrative. Well, why do the liberals hate Trump so bad? You throw Mike Pence into the liberal pile. I don't know where else to go with that, but they're not all liberals. Looking in the comments, and I do see Snowbird says wrong. Well, give me a list of verifiable Republicans, people you still feel are legitimate Republicans that don't like Trump, that you don't feel are rhinos or committed an act of treason or any of that. Because that's how it seems. Anybody that I know that does not like Trump or believe Trump was bad for America or committed an insurrection, I don't hear anybody on the right referring to them as Republicans anymore. They've all lost the R behind their name simply for going against Trump. I think most reps wish he would just shut up. Lee Holmes, you're saying you think most representatives wish Trump would just shut up? I don't quite get that. And I do appreciate you folks that are following the live. Real quick, if you do enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, we do this here Monday through Friday, so appreciate you guys that are following. Trigger warning, when trigger, I don't be responding to somebody. Criminal defendant Trump and MAGA are now irrelevant. Criminal defendant Trump and MAGAs, plural, are now irrelevant. Relevant is what U.S. courts decide on their fate. The courts are not deciding on the fate of MAGA, which is Trump supporters. I don't quite get that comment, Desert Fox. Going back to the box, Dark FJB. Good afternoon. Fuck Joe Biden is what FJB stands for.
How are you?
I'm doing good. So what do you say about this addition with Maine now also taking Trump from the ballot?
Well, as a Mainer, I feel quite disenfranchised in the loss of my ability to vote for my representative.
So you live in Maine. Wow. So
Yes, sir.
how are the news channels there? I mean, I'm assuming there's a bunch of folks that are pissed off and folks that are celebrating.
It's being played. It's basically a side story here.
Oh.
It's not big news.
So
Your
your state
decision's been expected for weeks now.
really? So your state
Yeah, it's no surprise.
All right, fair enough. So your state believes Trump violated the 14th Amendment. Let me ask you this. If your state did believe that he violated the 14th Amendment, in your opinion, what should they do?
If he's been convicted of violating the 14th Amendment, then great, they should do what they need to do. But this decision is basically entirely based on the opinion of Shanna Bellows.
Well, let's be clear. The 14th Amendment in the verbiage doesn't say you have to be charged or convicted at all. It doesn't say nothing about you have to be charged or convicted to violate it.
But you can't simply have an opinion. What are we, a fascist country now?
Yeah, I mean, you raise a point in regards to having an opinion, but I mean, that's kind of how it works. For instance, if they suggest that you cannot aid or comfort any enemy of the United States, how do you decide without having an opinion?
Well, you don't convict people upon opinion. I have the opinion that Joe Biden has committed treason. So should we remove him from the ballot?
Well, Trump did suggest locking Hillary Clinton up. I mean, he was suggesting Hillary Clinton is
after due process.
I never heard Trump use that phrase after due process. It was lock her up.
We all know what he means. Arrest her and go through the process, just like Trump's going through the process now. But he hasn't been through that process. He hasn't been convicted. Just like your previous guest was saying, it's his opinion that Trump's guilty of these things.
But is it not?
Things, right?
But when you say we all know what Trump means, is that not your opinion? Because he didn't state that. That's you suggesting that we know what he means.
Right, that is my opinion, but I'm not suggesting we lock Hillary Clinton up without due process.
Trump was suggesting that.
I don't agree. That's where we'll have to differ in opinion there.
So let me ask you this question then. Now, you do understand we all have a right to plead the fifth if we don't want to incriminate ourselves. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So how do you feel about Trump suggesting that if you plead the fifth, that means you got something to hide or you work with the mafia?
I believe that makes him a hypocrite.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to point that out because a lot of things he's complaining about, he's did to others.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, pick a politician that hasn't, but let's not mince words here. We're obviously letting the opinion of a very far left politician here in Maine, letting her opinion decide who and who is not available to vote for by the people.
So if a person is in violation of the 14th Amendment, how do you hold them accountable then? I mean, you and I both would agree that, because right now Jack Smith is doing what you suggested, charging Trump, trying to hold him accountable. You and I would both agree that if Trump wins in 2024, Jack Smith is not going to be around to finish this case. Would you not agree with that?
Yeah, I agree, absolutely.
Okay, so you do, like me, believe that Trump will interfere with his own case if he becomes president?
Absolutely.
Do you believe do you see that as justice? Do you believe somebody who is accused of a crime should be able to interfere and play musical chairs with the prosecutor on their own case?
No, but I see that's what's happening in this current administration right now. So I don't think it's right for either side to do that. And I think if Trump's elected, yeah, I think the process should continue and let the system play out. But that's the same thing that's happening right now. I mean, look at Hunter Biden. Are they not obfuscating the system as we speak?
Well, in regards to Hunter Biden, I've tried to, in regards to discussing politics, because Hunter Biden's just a regular American. He's an American citizen. I don't know where to go with Hunter Biden. I mean, if he's guilty, charge the guy. But go ahead.
But it's more about Joe Biden's involvement with Hunter than it is Hunter himself, and I think you'll agree with me on that, right?
Yeah, I do believe that if President Biden decided to step down, or if he passed away, or if he got out of politics, the stuff against Hunter Biden would disappear. Very similar to Hillary Clinton. Now that she's no longer in the running for president, nobody is talking about locking her up or trying to go after her. What's happening to Hunter Biden is very similar to what Trump claims. It's a witch hunt. They're only going after Hunter Biden because his dad is running for president.
Right, absolutely.
Okay. So once again, Trump is claiming something.
Those things.
So once again, you're admitting.
Make it right.
Hang on, but well, that's the point. Is that Trump is claiming that he's a victim of all this stuff, where even you're admitting that if the shoe was on the other foot, he would do the same stuff.
Yeah.
So he is no better than the people we're criticizing.
Correct.
So what happened to drain the swamp?
Easier said than done. That's all I can say about that.
Well, but you're making it sound like he himself is a swamp creature. If he will do the same stuff as the swamp creatures, he himself has to be one, right?
Partially, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not saying he's not. Yeah, absolutely.
So perhaps neither him nor Biden are best for this country. Perhaps he's not a good candidate either.
Oh, I agree. Neither one of them is best. They're both divisive characters, one way or the other. But in my opinion, Trump v. Biden, I'm going to be Trump all day. But I think there are far better people that could be more of a uniter rather than a divider. And Trump or Biden both fit those, whether you're on the left or on the right. I mean, if Biden gets another term, we've got another 4 years of left hates right. If Trump wins, we've got another 4 years of left hates right.
Yeah, but so you see Trump and Biden as equally divisive?
I do, yes.
Trump recently called Nikki Haley a bird brain. That's not a liberal. That's not a liberal. You see Trump criticizing his own party, and you don't see Biden. You see Biden as being equally as divisive as that. Biden's not attacking a bunch of liberals like that.
But it's not about exactly his words. Think about how the people feel about Joe Biden. I mean, he's obviously a divisive character, whether he's calling the shots or not.
Give me some examples of what he's doing that's divisive.
His lack of border policy, his corruption, his weaponizing of the DOJ. Those are all very divisive actions.
How do you see Biden as weaponizing the DOJ?
Look at all the court cases against Donald Trump, and you're telling me that those are not all political?
I was
so
told.
Donald Trump was so let me ask, if Donald Trump wasn't running for president, how many of these cases do you think would exist, and how many of them would just simply go away?
I'm not arguing with you that if Trump wasn't running for president, some of these cases wouldn't exist. Where I have a problem is suggesting that the cases are being orchestrated by President Biden. You do realize the DOJ has some latitude to act on their own, huh?
No, they're absolutely orchestrated by the Biden administration and
evidence. Evidence?
Oh, okay. Opinion. Okay, you got
me.
Okay.
All right, fair enough. All right, we made a little progress. I got to move it on. Dark FJB. We understand how you feel about a name. You're always welcome back. Appreciate the commentary. Come on back anytime, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolute. Happy New Year's. Looking in the comments. This is why he's running. All right. Trump is running for what reason? Let me know in the comments. You said this is why he's running. I'd be curious because a lot of folks believe, like my first caller stated, by continuing to go after Trump, as he referred, you're making him a martyr. Folks are starting to sympathize with Trump because they see it's a two-tier justice system, and folks are mistreating Trump, so that's bringing folks to the Trump side because they sympathize with him. My humble opinion is that's bullshit. Not necessarily saying that Trump wasn't a decent leader or somebody you could favor for the economy, the minimal global conflicts. There's a lot of legitimate reasons to like Trump. But the idea that if someone is being mistreated by the justice system, that's going to make you vote for him, I absolutely disagree with that. And my typical comment to folks on the right, knowing how much they despise the likes of Nancy Pelosi, I often ask, if Nancy Pelosi, beyond a shadow of a doubt in your opinion, was being railroaded by the justice system, you knew she was being charged with crimes she didn't commit, would you vote for her simply because the system was railroaded? No. You're not going to go against your entire set of principles because somebody's being wrongfully charged with a crime. That's not going to happen. Regardless of what Trump is going through, whether it's a witch hunt or not, you're either for the Second Amendment or you're not. You're either pro-choice or you're pro-life. You either think Biden is doing a shitty job at the border or you're okay with it. You're not going to go against everything you believe because, well, dude's getting mistreated by the system. I'll throw out all my principles to vote for this guy. That's not making Trump a martyr, what's going on in the courts. What's happening is the folks that love and support Trump are feeling like he's being mistreated, that he's involved in a hell of a lot of witch hunts, and their love and adoration for him is getting stronger. You're not adding people to the pile. You're strengthening the love of those that are already in his camp anyway. That is what is happening. You're not gaining votes because you're being railroaded by the system. Nobody gives a damn if you're being, you know how many people out there get railroaded by the system? You're not going to vote for this guy if he goes. It's not like you're choosing between Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy, where you're going to get the same shit out of both of them. So one guy, I'm standing with him because he's fighting against the system. You're voting between Trump and Biden. If you support Biden, Trump is not going to promote anything that you like. You're not going to skip over and vote for him because the system is mistreating him and thereby throw out all the things you favor. That makes no sense at all. You're not voting on principle. I'm voting because the system is railroading the guy. Nobody votes like that. Looking in the comments, because of the border issue, I will vote for anyone but Biden, says Murphy. You're not alone. A lot of folks are really disgruntled about what's happening at the border. Now, the border, if that's a major concern, Chicago, New York, border towns, Laredo, Eagle Pass, yeah, that may lead somebody to switch from Biden to Trump. That's different than suggesting the system is railroading Trump. That's not going to make people switch. The border may be affecting you personally. That makes a big difference. Looking in the comments, country first, not party first. It should be that way. It should be that way. But I would tell you, folks like Nikki Haley, for instance, or, you know, I won't say Ramaswamy. I will say Ron DeSantis now. They are doing party first because one side is saying that they believe Trump was wrong, but on the other side, well, we would support him anyway. Why would you support somebody that you're claiming did something wrong? That is indeed party first. Going back to the box, Bushmaster, 11 Bravo. Good afternoon, Bushmaster. Welcome back to the program. 14th Amendment now being invoked by the state of Maine against President Trump. What say you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. I would say that's unconstitutional. I think it should be left up to the people to decide, not a person like that, one single person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but I have to push back and ask, so does that mean get rid of the 14th Amendment altogether? I mean, if you truly feel somebody violated the 14th Amendment, and you decide to leave it up to the voters, I mean, regardless if he violated the 14th Amendment or not, it's already going to be left up to the voters. So essentially, you're not enforcing that at all.
No, I don't. I think it's more of a jurisdictional issue if you read Section 5 of the 14th Amendment. So I don't think they have the authority to do such based off that alone, even in the amendment in which they're using.
All right, fair. And that's a different argument. A lot of folks are saying the same thing, and that is likely how the Supreme Court will end up ruling, is that these states do not have the jurisdiction to do that. I think that's how most folks feel. But at the end of the day, you don't see him as violating the 14th Amendment either, right?
No, I don't see a violation of the 14th Amendment. I've looked at a lot of videos. I've looked at a lot of evidence. I just don't see it.
How do you feel about him offering to pardon folks that have been convicted of sedition? I mean, the leader of the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys have actually been charged and convicted of sedition, and he's offering to pardon them. How do you feel about that?
I would say I feel about the same way. It's the same way about it of someone who has been pardoned by Bill Clinton, Susan Rosenberg in 1983. She bombed the U.S. Capitol on his.
How did you feel about that?
Not good. I don't think they should get a pardon. That's just me.
Okay. So in other words, if Trump pardons the leader of the Oath Keepers and leader of the Proud Boys, you put him in the category as pardoning someone who bombed the troops in Grenada or something like that, you were saying?
No. Susan Rosenberg bombed the United States Capitol.
But you are putting Trump in really bad company if he pardons.
I would say that's bad company. Yeah, you don't need to go down that path.
So
that's just my personal opinion.
So do you think someone who is willing to pardon a terrorist like a bomber, like you pointed out, and you putting Trump in the same, do you think he should be president if he does? If he does something like that, do you think he has disqualified himself from whatever remainder he has of his term? Because he would do it while he's in office. Do you see that as a disqualifying act?
No, I don't see that as a disqualifying act, because if it was a disqualifying act, they wouldn't have the power to pardon.
Right, okay. But you would have a major problem with it. You just think he should still be able to be in office.
Personally, yeah, I'd be like, dude, come on, man. That's not how you bring us together.
All right. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with the way you're phrasing it. So because he's suggesting he's going to pardon them, he's making music with these folks and all of that. Do you see him as, because in the 14th Amendment verbiage, it says you're violating it if you offer aid or comfort to enemies of the United States. And like I said, these two individuals have been convicted of being an enemy of this country. And here he is making it clear that if I get elected, I might offer aid to these people. You don't see that as a reason for people to think twice about voting for him? Because even you admitted he would be horrible if he done it.
You said it says that in the 14th Amendment?
Yeah, if you go on congress.gov, I used to, if you give aid or comfort to the enemy thereof, it is in that amendment. Because it's not just you committing an insurrection. If you give aid or comfort to someone else that has done it, you're also violating the 14th Amendment. So I don't know how quick you can bring it up, but I
already got it up. I'm reading it right now.
Yeah.
It says no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector or president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who has previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall engage in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given a comfort to the enemies thereof.
Right.
Congress may by vote
2/3 majority.
2/3 of each house remove such disability. So there's been no vote. 2/3 of each house.
I'm not disagreeing with the language that suggests Congress should do it. We can debate that. But what I'm saying is, even according to your verbiage there, if you give aid or comfort to an enemy of the United States, you're in violation. You just read it.
Wouldn't that be what the second impeachment was about, though? And they did vote on it?
That's where the Supreme Court is being asked, is that does the impeachment count as a criminal case against Trump, thereby giving him double jeopardy protections?
It sounds like double jeopardy. That's what I was about to say.
So, but let me ask you, in your own opinion, do you see him offering to pardon him? Do you see that as giving aid or comfort to an enemy of the United States?
No, you would have to hold the same true to Bill Clinton at that point.
What is, in your opinion, what is giving aid or comfort to an enemy of the United States?
Aid and comfort.
Aid or comfort. If I'm in prison and you're offering to let me out, and I've been charged with sedition, I am a convicted enemy of the United States, and you're suggesting if you become president, you would consider pardoning me.
No.
You don't see that as giving me aid?
That's a hell of a reach, because you have all the presidents before that have released prisoners from Guantanamo that I don't really agree with. You know what I'm saying? That's
but I'm asking you, if you're offering to pardon these folks, you don't see that as giving them aid or comfort at all.
No.
What would be giving them aid or comfort?
That would be money or intelligence, like on our military and stuff like that.
So you see giving them money or intelligence as aid or comfort, but giving them freedom is not.
Like weapons?
Yeah, but giving them freedom is not aid or comfort.
No.
Yeah, that's so. Let's imagine you're the leader of the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers, and I'm gonna play the role as Commander in Chief. I'm on the phone with you serving time. We're not making a January 6th choir tape, but I tell you, is there anything I can do to aid or comfort you? You understand I'm the president. Is there anything I can do to aid or comfort you? You're telling me your response will be giving me money or intelligence? You're sitting in prison, and I'm offering to aid or comfort you, and your response was give me money or intelligence. That's how you're saying this?
Yeah, that would be aid and comfort.
But you wouldn't ask for a pardon.
But, well, it depends on how much money, too. Because like $100, you can't really do much. You know what I'm saying?
But you're in prison, Bushmaster. I have the ability to pardon you, but you want money. You're serving double-digit years in prison. I can pardon you, but you'd rather have money and intelligence?
Yeah, because then you could accomplish your goal and you buy your own freedom.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure I go ahead.
Let me break it down so you understand, because
Please do.
Yeah, so you're stuck in prison. If they were really going to overthrow the United States government, do you think that they would be able to accomplish that if they had the money to do it, to get someone else to do it for them? Because they themselves are not going to be able to do it. You understand? So if they organize an operation with the money, then they hire all these people to go in and take over. They're going to buy their own freedom. That's what I'm saying. So if you get enough money, you can accomplish
You can't buy your own freedom if you're doing Fed time. But what the point I'm trying to make to you is this: what offering aid or comfort doesn't mean you have to give me aid or comfort to do the act. Maybe I'm on the run after committing the act and you give me aid or comfort.
Really? So why are we giving Ukraine money and weapons?
What does that have to do with this discussion? I don't quite get that.
Because they're trying to prevent themselves from being overthrown, right? So they're obviously needing that to quote unquote.
We are absolutely aiding and comforting Ukraine and trying to help them become a free nation. We are trying to aid and comfort the Ukraine to become a free nation. Yes.
Absolutely. So that's what I'm talking about. That's aid and comfort. Correct.
But if we ask the Ukrainians, which one do you want? Money or intelligence on the Russians, or for us to broker an agreement to end the war with the Russians? I guarantee you they would take the freedom over money or intelligence. Freedom is going to be more important than any of that.
It depends on the person.
Okay. All right. I've never heard it said this way, but you're always welcome to state. So I do got to move it on, Bushmaster. Pleasure talking to you.
Buddy.
Happy New Year's to you, man. And Happy New Year's to you, by the way.
Happy New Year's to you.
Thank you. That was different. That was absolutely different. I never heard of it stated that way. But if you give me freedom, you're not helping me out. But if you give me money or intelligence, you are. That is definitely different than I've ever heard it before. But the man stood his ground. Sometimes you have somebody in an area and they find a hell of a way to respond. I've never heard that. President Trump, make our country great again with a change for our citizens, 2024. How do you think Trump is going to make a change for our citizens? I'd be curious to know. You can strengthen the economy, energy independence. I don't know if that would be a change for our citizens. And I will say this also, one of the biggest accolades. Wow, Drew, I haven't seen a galaxy in a minute. Thank you. Appreciate that. Certainly ending 2023 off right. Thank you. A galaxy. Wow. I forgot what I was about to say after that. What would Go back to the box. He fucked my memory up. We'll go straight to Jake Oakley. Good afternoon. I don't normally get thrown off like that, but he caught me off guard. Jake, 14th Amendment. Now Maine is in the fray. What say you?
Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted. One, yes, I agree, but two, I think Trump needs to lose at the ballot office. I think that needs to happen.
But and by the way, Dina Clark, thank you. So you're saying he needs to lose at the ballot box. Do you see him as potentially violating the 14th Amendment at all, though?
Yes, I do.
Then why not? So you're saying don't enforce it, though?
Yeah, and this is my opinion. The reason for that, and I'll try to articulate this the best way as possible, because what's going to happen is if we successfully implement the 14th Amendment and that is enforced and Trump loses at the ballot office, and that's going to be why he lost. This MAGA brand is going to continue the narrative that the election was stolen and that they took it away from him. I think he needs to go up and get knocked out legitimately and lose the vote again. This is how we get rid of the MAGA brand.
Jake, I gotta push back, Jake, and I'll just say this. If Trump is not reelected in 2024, Tammy, much love to you too. Thank you. Thank you for that heart. That was beautiful. If Trump is not reelected in 2024, MAGA is not going to be happy no matter how it is. Whether you take him from the ballot by the 14th Amendment or if you defeat him in the election. Trump lost the election in 2020, and look how MAGA has responded. There was no 14th Amendment. So I don't know if there's anything you can do. You guys are going ape shit to it. Andy, thank you for that. So I don't think that doing what you suggested, just let it go before vote, and that's how you get rid of Trump. They're still going to say it was stolen. They're still going to say the Democrats cheated.
They're right, and the reason why that narrative even started was because Trump instilled that doubt long before the elections. He constantly said, "If we lose this election, it's because it was stolen." And I think if we can do another one where he loses again and there's no evidence of election fraud, widespread fraud, I think that's just another nail in the coffin. This is just going to change the narrative, and it's going to give them more ammo to say this 2024 election was interfered with. This is why Trump lost, and it's just going to continue that. We need to move on and get past this.
You're not, but yeah, see, I couldn't disagree with you more. You're not going to move. Rod, thank you for that crown. You're not going to move on as long as Trump is in the background saying I'm a victim of this or that. I mean, obviously he's going to say the 2024 election is not being held properly, and there will be some cheating. There's cheating in all of our elections. I mean, look at all the fake electors popping up. There's always going to be some cheating. You got folks who still believe Dominion, despite winning $750 million in a settlement. People still believe what Giuliani and some of them said about Dominion. Ruby Freeman is still an election cheater in the eyes of a lot of folks on the right. So I don't think anything you do is going to move us on from the suggestion that the Democrats are cheating. I mean, fact is, all of 2024, Trump's going to be constantly in court and things like that. So if he lose, it's going to be because the Democrats cheated and put all these court cases in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point, and that's definitely a fair representation of what I think happened, and that's just my personal take on it. Second from that is what I don't understand, if I can shift gears a little bit here with the MAGA crowd as it relates to Trump. I used to be MAGA. I used to be pro-Trump. I voted for Trump in 2016. I went to rallies. I saw a lot of things I did not like within the group. And
like what? Like what?
I saw a lot of racism and a lot of uneducated people. And what I mean by that is MAGAs do not, from my anecdotes, right? And I'm not saying everybody, but those who I've interacted with and who I talk with frequently, because they do discuss this quite a bit, is they don't understand the fundamental basics of the economy. Trump or Biden do not get credit for oil prices. They do not get credit for inflation increasing or decreasing. They have very little autonomy, a little influence to that. And I'll give you an example. Gas prices in summer of 2020, right, were at our peak, $5 plus gallon. Now look at it. We're down $2.50, $2.60. So MAGAs will blame Biden for gas prices being high a year ago, but then not give him credit for gas prices being low.
That's politics. But I will push back on you and say this. While I agree that our politicians aren't really responsible for everything that goes on with the price of fuel, when fuel prices went down, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did start taking credit for it. So
oh yeah, they did.
Yeah, it's just politics.
That's how politics, right? They're
Yeah.
going to take credit when it makes them look good and deny responsibility for it. Absolutely, no argument there. But the logic is, and one thing I can't stand with the MAGA group is anytime there's criticism against Trump, or be it legit or not, criticism, negative media, it's fake news and lie.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, when it comes to media within politics and what I call MAGA cold, those hard, fast Trump supporters, is one, Trump is the only one telling the truth. Any negative media or criticism is immediately dismissed as fake news. And then the way that they defend Trump is, what about Biden and his corruption? Well, if there's evidence of corruption, then show it to me. Then Biden should be held accountable. There's just not.
Yeah, Dep Cure in the comment section, because you mentioned you saw racism, flat out stated you did not see a lot of racism as when you were on Trump's side. Now you're saying you saw a lot of racism. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to go. I'm out in Utah, right? And I used to go to the rallies where they would counter protest against BLM. BLM would go. There was some police brutality issues that we had here in Utah, and so the BLM chapter here would go protest like at the certain police departments, and we went to counter a rally, and they would literally drop the N-word. These N-words don't know what they're doing. So I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I was going to say
reflects everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say
what I saw anecdotally.
Yeah, I was going to say counter protest and BLM alone doesn't make you a racist. I mean, BLM has not always been right, but you're saying they're dropping the N-word. That's a different story.
Right, and I'm not saying their actions are representative of the entire MAGA movement at all. I'm just saying that's what I personally saw. It's anecdotal experience, and that really turned me off, especially here in my local area. But, it's really around the conspiracy theories and, the vaccine. Most of the MAGA people that you meet were anti-vaccine. The vaccine was some propaganda, some way to control people. There's always some swindled conspiracy in there, but MAGA promotes it. Or Trump takes credit for Operation Warp Speed, which, yes, that was the funding to help get the vaccine produced, and he takes credit. He talks about the booster. He was on TV saying it does good, it saves lives. So MAGA will believe in everything else Trump says, but when it comes to the vaccine, they don't acknowledge that part. So there's a lot of cherry picking, right? And when we talk about the indictments and the criminal charges, they delegitimize the justice system. It's all fake. So years-long investigations, special prosecution, Republican witnesses, the juries are all fake and made up. None of it's real. But it's only real when they charge Democrats with specific crimes, like that senator who recently was charged with bribery. So they cherry pick things that are happening that they will acknowledge and support, and then disregard other things that contradict what they're saying.
Yeah, and that absolutely there is a lot. I mean, I've seen some of that on the other side as well. But yeah, that part, as Trump once stated, people don't like to hear bad news about me. It is very difficult for MAGA to accept any news that is negative of Trump as valid. I mean, you really can't criticize him without folks saying what you're saying is made up. I do agree with that. I don't know how to get around that. I mean, it is hard to criticize the man. He is in a unique position. But I do got to move it on, Jake.
Okay, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Have a good New Year's, man. Come on back anytime.
You too.
Looking in the comments here, my YouTube, the battery was going down, so I decided to put a charger in, and now I can't. For folks that are watching on YouTube, he wasn't talking about the other side. No, he wasn't. He wasn't talking about the other side. But listen, I want to be fair on the program. This is not a bash Trump or love liberal program, or vice versa. It's not about loving Trump and bashing liberals. A lot of folks see the hat and that's what they expect. This is a program about letting the folks speak. And I try to be fair as much as I can. If I see something where Trump is getting overly bashed and there's plenty of evidence of it on the other side, I'm not going to be hesitant to admit that. Intelligent people, good people don't vote blue. Well, I'm not going to say good people vote either way. There, like I always say on the program, there are legitimate reasons to vote for Trump, legitimate reasons to vote for Biden that don't make you good or bad. Depends on what's going on in your life. It really depends on how you live your life. Particularly with liberals, we are mostly in big cities. Rural areas don't want to be ran like big cities. So there's going to be a lot of legislation and policies the liberals favor that is not a good idea for somebody living in rural areas. I mean, for instance, the Second Amendment to me makes a lot more sense in rural areas than it does in the city. I think in the city, there are more legitimate reasons to criticize it than in rural areas where you may need it for hunting and other things. I think that, and that goes down the list. I mean, there's a whole lot of different things. Being pro-Christian, God, Christianity in schools and things like that, that works very well in an area where everybody's a Christian, which is more a rural phenomenon. You're not going to have a lot of diversity in rural areas. People know each other. They have similar mindsets and things like that. Whereas in a city like Philadelphia or Chicago or Los Angeles, you're going to have people from all religions. Putting Christianity in a public school in the middle of a major city doesn't come across the same as doing it in a town with only 4,000 or 5,000 people. I mean, there are rural policies that work, and there are places, urban policies. And I think that the liberals are far more urban than the Republicans, which is why most urban areas are red. Most rural areas are red. Most urban areas are blue. Going back to the box, I've seen Lewis Clyde holding on there. I do appreciate that. Can't get this damn tablet to work right. Good afternoon, Lewis. What do you think? 14th Amendment with Maine. You think Maine is getting it right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
So,
by the way,
go ahead.
Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Just so we get that out of the way.
Thank you.
I absolutely get it right.
So
what people are asking now, and I kind of fall in this category with them. I'm hoping Trump gets to run. I seriously believe that Biden would beat him. I'm not so sure if he would beat someone younger or someone that didn't have 91 charges with 4 indictments.
Nikki Haley. Could he beat Nikki Haley?
I don't think he could.
Wow.
And the reason I say that, because what most people think is that those 74 million that voted for Trump, they think that all of those people are MAGA.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of traditional Republicans voted for Trump. That is a good point.
And they would truly go towards someone that's a little bit less nauseous. Do you follow what I'm saying?
You see, Trump is nauseous. I've never heard him referred to that way.
I absolutely does. I don't blame Trump for the divide as much as other people do. I do truly believe it started with Obama. I think Obama.
What did Obama do that was divisive?
Not what he did. It's just him being black.
Okay, that makes sense. The first black everything is divisive.
I mean, the divisiveness changed when the black man got in the White House. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, if the White House was just the president's resident, he probably would have had a better chance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the White House is the White House, if you follow my drift.
But I thought we was in a post-racial America. That stuff ended hundreds of years ago.
Brother, let me tell you something. Racism is inherently, I think all white people are racist. That's
Whoa! Well, you gotta define. What do you mean? You think all white people are racist? Explain that.
Inherently racist. And the reason I say that is because especially the ones, I'm not saying they can't change, but I think all the ones that think they don't have an advantage because of the color of their skin are racist.
It's a difference between not understanding the plight of the black man and hating the black. Do you think all black people are racist?
I don't think black people can be racist because we have no sense of power.
What is racism to you then? I couldn't disagree more.
Explain. When a system is built for you to succeed over another person because of the color of their skin.
Yeah, I was brought up to believe racism is just hatred of another person based on their skin. To me, Farrakhan is racist. I did it. Black people can't be racist. That doesn't resonate. I definitely think you can be racist.
I think Farrakhan is prejudiced. Because if you look at Farrakhan really doesn't have a problem with white people. He just don't want to be involved with them.
Lewis, he's calling them blue-eyed devils. What do you mean he doesn't have a problem with white people?
And he don't want to have nothing to do with them.
You're calling the people devils. That goes beyond not wanting to have something to do. You're calling them an active insult.
Let me tell you something. If the white people are on this side of the road and Farrakhan's on this side of the road, he ain't got no problem with them.
I got it. Listen, I lived across the street from Farrakhan's headquarters in Chicago for 20 years, and I used to be, I used to have folks come up to me. I used to read the final call. I was literally, I could sit on my porch and throw a rock and hit the headquarters. They organized the Million Man March in '95 on my block, and I've talked to a lot of Nation of Islam members. The idea that they're not racist towards white people. Now, they may have what they think is a legitimate reason, just like whites had what they thought was a legitimate reason.
But you're getting mixed up. There's a difference for a black person is in no position to control the outcome of where you move to, where you live at.
There's a lot of white people that we call racist that aren't in a position to control anything either, though.
And that's why I say they're inherently racist.
But you can't be black and inherently racist.
Absolutely not. You can be prejudiced, and I am prejudiced. I admit that I am prejudiced.
I think your definition of racist is racist.
I guarantee you, if you talk to any economist or whatever, they'll tell you that black people are not in a power. Even the rich ones, like Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey can't change a system in America.
Oprah Winfrey can fire a ton of white people in 1 minute. She has a lot of power to do racist shit.
But she wouldn't be able to put a system in place that doesn't hire them.
So if what you're saying is true, where a white person has to be in power, has to be able to, control the system over black people, then that would mean 99% of the white people in this country are incapable of being racist because they're not in a position to do that. Most white people cannot control my life like that.
I say they're inherently racist. That don't mean that they are racist. What I mean by inherently racist is that they can be that. You have no chance of being racist because you don't control shit. Their race does control stuff.
Lewis, I could walk down the street as a 6'6" black male and beat up a bunch of white people. You mean that doesn't make me racist?
That makes you prejudiced and stupid.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. You and I totally disagree on this. I think that anyone.
Let me get back to this 14th Amendment thing.
All right, okay.
Is that what people are asking now is that the 14th Amendment, they're asking us to ignore the 14th Amendment. In other words, ignore the Constitution.
True. Let me hold on a second. I'll let you continue, but just on you, because we're running the simulcast on YouTube. Someone in the comments, Mark is saying, not Mark, but looks like it's all praises to you, actually agrees with you and said, I'm acting real dumb right now in regards to racism. I just wasn't brought up that way to believe that only one.
Tim, how old are you, if you don't mind saying?
I'm 51.
I'm 65. Okay. So I'm telling you, I should have a little bit more experience with that. I grew up in the South, and I know that. I had lots of white friends. I had lots of everything. But one thing they had that I didn't have is they didn't have that grandpa at home telling them, don't hang with that nigger.
Well, I don't want you to cause a lie to get banned. Don't use the N-word. I never, let me make it clear, I never ban people. Hold on, hang on. I never ban, censor, or limit folks, but I can't control the TikTok god. So anything but the N-word, just because the damn app might stop you. Go ahead.
I've been watching you for 3 years. I know better than that. I don't know why I did that. I guess I get fired up about that because I know that I didn't have that at home. My parents didn't tell me to show any animosity toward Caucasians. You know what I'm saying? You've never been told by anybody black that you can't trust them or that they out to get you. You've never had anybody black tell you to be careful around white people. Not in my family.
Okay.
Not in my family.
Okay. All right. This is a different. Let me just ask in the comments for you folks that are watching, because folks do believe I'm being dumb as hell inside with you, Lewis. How many of you folks, by way of yes or no, I'm going to ask a simple question. Just type yes or no. You can do it on YouTube or YouTube as well. Do you believe black people are incapable of being racist towards whites? As you said, they can be prejudiced, bigoted, but they cannot be racist. Folks believe that. Type yes. Folks who don't, type no. I've never heard that. You can, yeah, I see a little. All right. Some yeses are. Some folks do agree with you that a black person cannot be racist towards a white person.
Because we don't have any power in the community, is what I'm saying. We don't have any power in the system that makes America tick. And that's why we can't be. We can't discriminate against a person because of the color of their skin. We could definitely be prejudiced. We could definitely be mean. We could be angry. We could be upset. And I was definitely that way prior to going in the military and being around a lot of Caucasian people. I was definitely that way. My dad was the vice president of the NAACP. And you know what his message was? Even though we were being treated bad, had crosses burned on our yard, you know what my dad always told me?
What?
It's never judge a book by its cover.
All right. Let me respond to your separation of racist versus prejudice. To me, I believe when you say that blacks can't be racist because they're not in a position of power, I would say that sounds more like oppressive. You don't have power, so you can't oppress me. But I do believe blacks can absolutely be racist. If you want to look at it from a position of power, maybe blacks don't have the power in this country to oppress whites, but you can certainly be racist towards them. You and I, and a lot of folks in the comments too.
No, I'm telling you something. I don't believe that, and I think some people get it mixed up because if I don't like Caucasian people or YT people, they want us to say, because of the color of their skin, then that's me being prejudiced towards someone. That's not me having any control over what they do, where they go, how they hang out, or where they go, and their success in their life.
So what if you were pimping out a white tee girl, kept her tied up in the basement and things like that, oppressing the hell out of her, and making it clear you were doing it because she was white? Is that not racist? You controlling everything about her. She can't even leave the house.
I'm pimping that girl out because I just want to make some money. It ain't got nothing to do with her skin. You know what I'm saying?
You don't think slavery was about them wanting to make some money? I think you're changing the definition to defend us black people.
No, I'm not. I mean, I actually do believe that if you actually took the time and read the definition of racism, you would agree. And I know a lot of us don't do that because we think we know.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking the definitions you're using apply to a lot of black folks. You started saying I'm pimping out to make money. That's the whole reason behind the fact that we were being mistreated. Is folks was making money off of it.
There's people that cannot affect your life one bit whatsoever, and they can still be racist.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all I'm saying. So it has nothing to do with gain or get or whatever. It's just disliking a person because of the color of their skin. Now, if I dislike you because you're just a mean old white man, a YT man, then I'm not pissed off because of your skin. I'm pissed off because of something you've done to me.
All right. Fair enough.
More than, I don't think the average. And Farrakhan is a bit on the another level. You know, he's a god. You know what I'm saying? He thinks he does try to portray that as he can be racist to a white person.
To me, you're calling people blue-eyed devils just because they were born white. I mean, I don't see. To me, that's as bad as it can get. I do gotta move it on. I'll give you the last word. You don't cause me to lose my whole hood pass on YouTube, but I do appreciate you coming in here.
But absolutely, Tim, absolutely. Trump, every state has a right. You got to figure, now let's go to Colorado. Mm-hmm. Everybody on the Colorado Supreme Court that voted to have him removed from the ballot was a Republican.
Yeah.
The Republicans are the one that started that petition. I'm telling you now that the only thing when it goes to the Supreme Court is they have to look at, they can't change nothing. Only thing they can do is see if the procedures were right in Colorado. And based on Colorado's Constitution, if they followed it to the letter, there's not the Supreme Court can't throw it out. He is going to be removed from every ballot.
Wow. So you think the Supreme Court is going to rule in Colorado in Maine's favor?
Absolutely. They got no choice unless they find some procedural errors. It's the only way that the Supreme Court can change it. Which the same way they did with Roe versus Wade. But you can't change a state Supreme Court ruling. It would be kind of an insult for the Supreme Court to overrule a state Supreme Court. It went to the state Supreme Court. Now, if it was at a lower court, like not a Supreme Court, say if it was just a state court, or whatever, then yeah, they probably could tell.
So how do you respond? RMG in the comments says, and that's how the Democrats are going to win. In other words, you had to cheat to win. How do you respond to people who say that? You wouldn't have won if you didn't make up all this bullshit.
No, because none of these states Trump was going to win anyway.
True. Well, we don't know that because the amount of states that are going after Trump, if the Supreme Court does what you're talking about, it's going to grow. It's going to grow.
A lot of them are not. There's already 4 states that are not going to prosecute him under the 14th Amendment. There's already 4 that say that they're not going to do it. There's only 16 of them going after him, and 2 have and 4 haven't. 4 say they're not going to even look at it. So it's only like 10 more states, and they're all democratically ran states that he was going to lose anyway.
All right. Appreciate you coming in, Lewis.
I mean, think Texas has any chance of getting Trump? Trump's going to be eliminated from the Texas ballot. That's one of them. Texas already said we ain't even thinking about that. You know what I'm saying? I personally want Trump to be the one that's running. I really want him to be the one that's running because I think Biden or anybody else would beat him.
I do agree with you that I think Biden has a lesser chance of winning against.
You need to explain to people how posters work. Posters work. Posters get the results that they get paid to go do posters on. So the reason that Trump is coming in as being a winner and are leading Trump in the polls is because they're not turning in the polls where he's losing at.
I don't know if I agree because even MSNBC and CNN are starting to say that Trump is winning.
But they're going to they're going to Republican people and asking them, who are you voting for? I'm telling you now, posters. No, I've been a poster, and I'm telling you something. We look for the results that we get paid to go out and look for.
So you believe CNN is looking for Trump ahead polls?
Absolutely, no question about it. Because there's no fight if he's not. There's no battle.
I've heard that before. Now I've heard people say that. I got to move it on. You could be right, but I do got to move it on, man.
All right.
Hey, good talk. Good talk. Wow, that was different. I lost my hood pass in the process. Somebody actually said something I thought was very controversial in regards to my last caller. This is on YouTube. This caller is jealous that God and Jesus are white men, and God chose the white man to rule that universe. Yikes, that is a mouthful. That came from Negroes for Trump 2024. And he didn't spell Negroes the way I just termed it. It was IGGA. God. I don't know how he got that name on YouTube. I mean, he spelled it the way Tupac would, not with the hard ER, but it is N-word for Trump in 2020. How did you get that name? How did YouTube not ban that? I don't know. How did you get that past a huge search engine like Google and YouTube? You're wrong. Trump is labeling, or better yet, you're wrong. Trump is leading in the polls and will be our next president. I don't know if I agree that he'll be our next president. The man has a ton of hurdles, but I do agree that he is leading in the polls. I disagree with my last caller that they're all deliberately looking for pro-Trump results. I mean, I get Democrats on the program all the time that say, I wish somebody else would run other than Biden. There is not a lot of love for Biden. I think you can skew a poll by asking people, who would you vote for? Trump or anybody but Trump. And you get a lot more anti-Trump votes, but the liberals are not excited about Biden. They really are not excited about Biden. So I don't think me and the last caller disagree on that. And certainly the racism coming. I got hammered. People tell me I'm clowning. I'm surprised I didn't get the word cooning thrown at me. Listen, as a native of the south side of Chicago, north side of Milwaukee, I've seen racism coming from blacks as well. Now, I understand folks believe it's bigoted, prejudice. You can't be racist because you don't have the ability to oppress. Or I just don't agree with it. I think you can hate somebody because of their skin color no matter who you are. I do believe that. Now, the oppression aspect doesn't fall on deaf ears. I agree with that. But the example I gave him, in which if you actually physically detain somebody and they cannot leave, and he said, well, you're doing that for money. I don't know. Like I said, I just have a difference of opinion from some of you folks. Big Yayo, welcome to the program. 14th Amendment. Coming out of Maine, Big Yayo. Kind of reminds me of Scarface. Don't forget to get the Yayo. Good afternoon, Yayo. So what do you think?
My honest opinion, I am a lifelong resident of Mississippi, so I do know a little something about racism.
Hell yeah, you do.
I do agree that there is an element of where we cannot make that change. So the racism kind of leans toward actually being able to change something in somebody's life. But I definitely believe that all races can be prejudiced. Yeah. I think a better way to look at it is all races are pro. They are pro them.
But can a black person be racist? That's a solid yes or no.
I would say no.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I would say no because we can't change anything. You know, when we think about racism, it's the ability to change the course of some other races' inherent ability.
So I'm gonna give you the same example I gave him. If I grab a blonde chick off the street and tie her up in my basement, use her any way I want, and she cannot leave unless I want her to, which means I'm controlling everything about her, including whether she lives or dies. Am I being racist if I say I'm only doing that to you because of your skin color?
That's a small microcosm, and it's not systemic.
But is it racist?
I would have to agree with the last caller. That one white tea person that you did, and maybe you did do it because they were white tea. I just don't see it as being racist because now you're just being a criminal.
Wow. Wow. Even if I'm admitting that I wouldn't do this to a sister, I'm only doing this because, as Farrakhan say, you're a blue-eyed devil. Even if I say that, I'm only doing it because I'm criminal.
I think when it comes to that, if somebody's just layering it on, I'm only doing this because I'm just doing. If it's just that only, yeah, maybe we would lean more toward.
Wow, I'm way off on this because you guys definitely had a different. Go ahead.
Don't forget, I'm from Mississippi now. I'm an authority. Okay?
I hear you.
Yeah, and the other thing that I want to weigh in on was
sure.
We talk about.
Wait, before you continue, somebody in the comments said maybe if you did it to 100 white women. Wow. All right, go ahead. Wow.
That word's not mine.
God. Okay. What if Jeffrey Dahmer was only eating black people? Would that make him a racist?
This is somebody that would like to eat dark meat. You know. Hey, you know.
All right, make your point. Go ahead. That's funny as hell, but go ahead.
But my point is, we were talking about the 14th Amendment, and we always hear, people across the aisle talk about states' rights. Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to certain issues, of course, the young lady in Texas, states' rights. I
had an earlier caller. I know where you're going with this. Another caller said the same thing. Is you're always for states' rights, but now that Colorado and Maine want to do their own state, now all of a sudden you're not for it. I have heard that. Yeah.
That's the only issue I have with the political systems, that it only pertains to when it works for you. And that's the argument. That's why it's hard for anybody to go across the aisle or reach across or, coincide with each other because of those hard, hypocritical moments.
Yeah. We're all like that. I agree with that 100%. Just like people talk about cancel culture and things like that and free speech. Everybody's for free speech until you say some shit they don't want to hear. I totally agree that both sides can be hypocritical as hell when it is against them versus when it benefits them. Because the states' rights argument you're making, yeah, it makes perfect sense. You weren't for this, and all of a sudden now when they want to exercise their states' rights, suddenly you're against it. What happened to if you don't like what this state is doing? Move. That's what you tell other people. So I agree with that.
Yeah, and that's really the point I wanted to make. As long as it's just these crazy situations, and they don't even give the dust chance to settle. They were just talking about this ultimate states' right. That conversation was everywhere, and now that this is the conversation, don't worry about what we said over here. We're talking about this now. This is just unconstitutional. Yeah. And like some of the other callers said, I would like to see Trump lose at the voters' box because that's just going to be one more excuse that they have.
Well, you're not going to, no matter what you do, if Trump loses, folks are going to say something.
Yeah.
It wasn't normal. There's no way that liberals can win, and folks will say that was done free and fair. There's just no way that can happen. But like you said, they'll just add this one to it. The fact that the man is going to be in court all day next year, folks are saying now, well, he couldn't get everything accomplished when he was in office last time because you kept impeaching him. Well, they're going to say, well, he couldn't win because you kept him in court. So there's no way the liberals are going to win in 2024. Fair and square in the eyes of somebody that supports Trump. It's impossible to do that.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. But I also say that someone with these many charges, somebody that's in this kind of limelight for the things that they're in the limelight about, come on, we got to put on some thinking hats. Take off the aluminum foil tin hats we have, and somebody needs to put on a real thinking hat and come out of the dunce corner, because this is it's crazy. And I'm like you. I love politics. I like politics for the sake of politics.
I'm the same. All right, well, Yayo.
I think you do an excellent job.
All right, appreciate that, Yayo. My grandma escaped Hattiesburg, Mississippi in the 40s to escape what y'all dealing with down there. But I do got to move it on. Appreciate you coming through. You have a good New Year's. Hopefully I can talk to you sometime on the other side, man.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one.
Absolutely. All right, folks, you know what this is indeed. It is indeed a lunch break live, and I do got to terminate the line because nature is calling. For you folks who enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle without any concern of the host blocking or banning you, follow the program. We enjoyed ourselves today. Can black people be racist? That may be a future live. I got to go. Catch you later. Same with you folks on YouTube. I do got to step away. Nature is calling. Holla at your boy.